Hello? Is this thing on? Testing. Mic 1, mic 2, mic check. Check, check, check. Hello and welcome to the show. Bass and Bonsai back off the water, back in the house, and we've got some baits to talk about. All right, let's give them something to talk about. Let's talk about it right now. We got out on the water, me and Charles, over the weekend. Hit two different places. One was a private place, one was a public place. These baits kind of shined in both places, but I'm just going to go out here and tell you guys right now. There's a chatterbait bite. It's on. It's going. The water temps. The 52 to 4 degrees is like they start out like just into the 50s of a morning, and then as the day went on, they never really, I don't think we ever saw them at 55, that magical number, right? But it was good enough to get there was kind of a bite going. Now, not every bait we've tested and stuff when we went to the private place, and that bite was actually about as tough as it was actually tougher in my opinion than at the public place, because I think I caught a few, one or two maybe on a chatterbait there, but then the next day we went, and if you guys have ever heard of, I guess, Charles, am I supposed to let the things slip on the public place that anybody could go to if you live down around the Clinton area? But I can't remember the exact name of it, but Pogue National Wildlife Area or something. I don't know, but I call it Pogue. It's a series of strip pits. Roughly, I think there's like 14 of them supposed to be on this land that it's public access. They do have a couple different boat ramps here and there, and we kind of made our own boat ramp with Charles's Bronco Sport and 14-foot John boat. But we got out there and fished, and we fished at another place, and I'm just going to give you the rundown. You're going to be watching the video. There's one going to be coming out tomorrow showing the Megabass. It kind of surprised me how quick I managed to catch fish on it, but then the chatterbait bite the next day surprised me, but then these baits also surprised me. Because as you'll see in the Megabass video, the new Sleeper Craw, I think it's going to be legit, because first cast, trying it out, boom, caught a fish. Wasn't like the LV500, wasn't like 6 in a row, but it worked. So then I went real quick, I'm like, well, maybe I need to try my Dark Sleeper, because honestly, I've had this dude for a while. I've been fishing it wrong the whole time. And then we got the Magdraft, right? So, but these other baits were like first cast, first fish. On this one for sure, the Strike King Hack Attack, like heavy cover spinnerbait. So let's just talk about the video you're going to be watching is going to come out. If you guys don't know about the Sleeper Craw, you've been sleeping, or the Dark Sleeper, you can get this guy. Just, I believe, is several colors, one size, one weight. That is, I believe that's like a 5/8, but that's it. The Dark Sleeper comes in I think the sizes change and a bunch of different weights. It's been out the longest. They make a sleeper gill. It's been out for like a year. I just never bought one of those because I wasn't really impressed with this guy until I fished this one first cast, and I was just paying attention how I was fishing it, and they look like something you might use in other than a jig motion. But I'll be honest, treat these just like you would if you're throwing a jig, you know, some kind of trailer on it kind of thing, working it on bottom. Try them different ways. You may try just dragging it like you would. These are basically a swim jig. They're basically a football head, or just a regular, you know, throw them wherever, because they're pretty much weedless and everything. So, and they're legit. So I threw this one out, caught a fish. I think I threw it once or twice. Again, I think I had a bump or something, and I was like, I'm just gonna try this because I know it works. Like, and I went on to catch, like, there's a few more you'll see in an upcoming video. But then so I threw this guy on, and it's the same thing. I was basically trying it just the way I'd worked this one, real slow, giving it a chance. You know, I was kind of working it real slow because we're still in, like I said, 52, 3-degree water temps. And then that sucker, bam, caught a fish. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just try this dude. I really hadn't planned on I mean, I know it's time there could be starting, but I really hadn't planned on even throwing this until I just, you know, I started down that rabbit hole on the Megabass soft plastic stuff I have. So I threw that guy out. Now, this wasn't first cast, but I want to say it was either the second or the third. Because I had never thrown this, first time throwing it. So, and they claim with the Magdrafts, these are work just like a jig. This, it needs a certain speed. You need to find that speed that just it becomes like a magic little bait that just catches big little fish and everything. And so I think I found it on I want to say maybe it was either second or third cast, and bam, caught a fish. So they've definitely are staying in my tackle box as of right now. And I guess I would say I'd have to recommend them. And you'll see in the video, I was kind of poking fun at the whole Yuki Ito. And some people just say you don't need that, which you don't need megabass baits to catch fish, but it sure doesn't hurt. There's a reason why they kind of take a premium price, and half of this stuff is always sold out at any given time, certain colors and stuff, just because people are buying them because they do actually work. And there's a lot of collectors also, but I will show you on this one before we go to other baits. And you'll see in the video, I didn't really talk about a lot. But so then the next, what I just tried it to see, because Charles, you'll hear him comment like, oh, it looks like the rattles will fall out. So I stuffed the biggest rattles I have. I think that's the biggest worm rattles you can get. So that Elastec type material is what these are made out of, if you guys don't know about these. Now, I believe this dude, I don't think he's made out of that. I know, and the Magdraft isn't for sure. They will tear and break, but that Sleeper CRAW, the reason it spoke to me was once I saw people talking about it, you should be able to catch a bunch of fish. I don't even remember how many I caught on this. I honestly didn't even get it out. We just never made around to getting it out on Sunday. Saturday's when I fished it, and then I threw the rattles in because we're in kind of murkier water than we're used to. But I can pull that rattle out, but I'm telling you, I caught, I don't know if it was 1, 2, 3, how many fish. I caught some fish on this with these rattles inserted, and they didn't fall out. Now, the craws won't float up like they would, but if you're in what I would recommend, to clear the water, you don't need any rattles. But if you're in the murkiest of stuff, I think the rattles could help you. It's a place you could put a rattle. Now, somebody said, well, you could probably put some in here, but then you stand a chance of it hindering your hook set kind of thing. This is a big hollowed out area, and I think it's best to kind of, and I was doing this like I would a hollow body frog. Clear out, if you're in clear water, clear out all of the water to where when you cast this out and you're working it, it's probably going to let off a few little bubbles here and there that could only, I think, help, not hurt getting hit. But this, and that's they have a black and blue, multiple colors, but I just, I talked about kicking back in with the watermelon deal. But so this watermelon blue flake I thought was the best of like both worlds. It gives me kind of a black and bluish type thing and watermelon. And so far it's working fine. I can't tell you that every color is going to work, but I bet you every color is going to work. You guys know, hopefully you guys already know what, your body of water, colors work, and get one that comes closest to that. If you don't, you can't go wrong with any kind of a green pumpkin. This one, I can't remember the exact name, but it's definitely like just a green crawl with the blue fleck, and there might be even a touch of gold or some other in there. But very good color. They make a black and blue. If you doubt anything, get a black and blue, and trust me. And then these guys, I still don't know what color. I thought this color, I still like that color, but I think I probably, if I want to get any more, I need to get a different color. And then this wasn't my first choice of color either. This is all they had at the time when I was at Bass Pro, wherever I picked this one up at. But the pearl white one is what most people are recommending to get on that one. But that does work. It kind of hinted around. It's kind of got a baby bass look. And what I think I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put some black lines on it some way or another, and then put a little more, try to make that tail more kind of black to where it truly imitates a baby bass is what I think I should do with that, because bass are cannibals, and we're going to be coming up on that time when they will start eating each other. Quick story. The reason I've done good on baby bass colors, but then I have a story to tell you about why and it's probably this size bass. I think I caught about this is 6-inch, but I caught an 8, maybe 9-inch bass. Okay, he's what hit my bait. And it's one of those, you've heard me say it before, it's like, oh, it got bigger. This literally got bigger. I felt the hit, I set the hook, and it started coming towards me. It was a little fish. Then it just, it got heavy, like it got heavy. and it was fighting. I'm like, oh my God, this fish like just, you know, doubled or tripled in size. And sure enough, what jumped up was a 4 to 5 pound bass. Jumped up and spit that little fish right back out at me. I reeled him in. It couldn't have been more than a few seconds. And that little dude already looked chewed up. I felt sorry for him. But he had my bait in his mouth. That big fish had grabbed him as soon as he saw him in distress. So that's why if you can get a bait that looks like a baby bass and get it swimming distressed looking, I'm telling you, the bigger bass will just chomp that up. So anyway, all right, let's go with the Jackall Rerange. These things are insane. You guys hear that noise? Let me see. Oh man, now I can't make it do it. I guess you have to cast them very hard. Yeah, you hear that popping? When you rear back and go forward on your cast, you'll hear that noise. It sounds kind of like a 22 with BB little shorts things in it going off sometimes. Like, it's loud. The first few times I did it, I'm like, that is insane. And it's a weight transfer. It's actually like a, I guess it's magnetic, so it's gonna get back, but it takes a hard pop, you know, to pop it back. So it's something else. You got like locked and loaded. But both these colors seem to work, and that we really didn't get on a jerkbait bite this weekend like we had in the weekends before. But I think I managed to catch a few bass on each one of these colors, and I liked how, like that sound you just heard, how well these will cast. I believe these may be the best for this size, like the 110 roughly size. Just the best casting ones you're going to come across. Like, these things will fly out there, and they do a lot of, you know, they work pretty good. Now, are they better than a Visual 110? No. Will they work like right along with them? You know, maybe there's time to work better than other, probably. So let's just jump to this that little Bill Lewis ATV. I got on a little bite with just this guy, little white 1.0. They call it something else, but this is clearly the oyster color from Strike King. One of kind of my favorite white color at the moment, but so I started throwing this guy, and this little bait amazingly got slightest, not a real noisy, but it's got a little bit of a rattle in there. But this thing, almost like a one knock, I guess. This thing cast real good. Little 1.0. I'll probably get that thing, and it looks like they're kind of hot sellers, because on Tackle Warehouse I went to get the 1.5 in this color and maybe look at another couple colors. This little dude like is sold out in most of the colors on the 1.0. The 1.5s, a lot of the colors are sold out. The 2.5s seem to be in stock, the majority of them. But so when you guys get a chance, I do recommend that ATV, because not only was I getting on a little bite with it, I was testing it throwing through a lot of wood. Like, now I hate to say it, cross my fingers, I never got it hung up. It never hung in the wood, and it just caught fish. That's all you can ask in a squarebill. And it has that harder, because if you look, it's like an in-between. It's not a round, normal, regular, you know, hard bait that's not a thin-sided, and it's not a thin-sided. It's like an in-between, and it just flat out works. This is a good design. I've had the other Bill Lewis, the Echo something. I do not like those. Those were crazy loud rattling, so I thought, oh, like a rattle trap, right? It should work. Those I never had luck with. I've already feel like that one's an awesome bait. So then, one of the last new baits, if you guys have heard me talking about on the channel, if you're familiar, I've been talking about trying to get back into slow rolling, and not necessarily slow rolling, but running lower with spinnerbaits, right? You know, I've already got some finesse and small spinnerbaits, but they kind of ride high. They're just kind of, the lighter. They're either a ½ ounce or lighter, and a lot of them, they're just going to ride a little higher in the column. I want something to get down there and kind of creep along the bottom, almost like you would with one of these things or a jig, but to have the blades going. So I picked up several, and I tried several different ones. Those black and blue looking ones, and the black and green one I got from Booyah, and the black and blue from War Eagle. And then I picked up one similar to this in that new Hildebrandt Booyah one, the one Jason and Christie developed or whatever. Looks very close to this. I tried it briefly, and I don't know if it's just luck of the draw, but the very first cast with this dude was a fish. So that is the Strike King one, and I believe it's the Hack Attack. I want to say they call it a deep cover, or I don't know. I can't remember the exact name, but it's easy to find that big honking one. And I got the 3/4 ounce ones, and some of these baits they consider to be finessey, but once you get them this big, they're not a finesse bait. They're just a big bait. So anyway, that spinnerbait definitely works. So last kind of new bait, but I knew this isn't a new bait. We've been fishing the what they call the mini 1/4 ounce Z-Man original type size for a while, and I told you, you know, like with the stock skirting, the ones that slid on, now they come actually a little different, so they're not much far behind. This is the Mini Max. But this Mini Max, this is a 3/8 ounce. You get it in 1/4, 3/8, ½ ounce. This little dude does work. We caught some fish on him, but then I kind of felt like that bite slowed down a little bit, but then I caught a couple on this one. That's our Jackie Hammer knockoff from AliExpress, and one of my favorite colors. It's kind of close to a Beehite Delight. It's missing the white, and the green is a little more intense. But then it was doing good, and I thought, well, let's just do a little mini test. If you guys remember right, my favorites I've got in a separate box. I'm like, well, let's pull my favorite chatterbait out. Color, blade choice, and all that, and let's put it up against this dude. Well, once I got on this bite, this one I couldn't get to hit again. I tried it a couple different times. So it was lights out. You guys know the deal. When you get me on a chatterbait bite, and if this black and blue, and it's a very subtle blue. Last year, towards the end of the season, I felt like the more blue you could have in your black and blue, they were hitting better, whether it was gold blade or not. But I got on a very good bite with this exact bait, and this is still that first goat that I cut down. It's still going. This thing's caught so many fish, and look how thin. And that's what Charles, he was looking at this going, oh, well, that's that little new one. I'm like, no, Charles, it's a regular sized jackhammer style, 3/8 ounce, so the head's a touch smaller, just like it is on the jackhammers. Now it's got a little bit smaller hook. The ones from AliExpress, the hook's a little smaller than the jackhammers have. But the profile is overall the same. But when you have a hand-tied skirt, and then you have a very slim line, like that's as small, even maybe smaller than a Zinker's or like a Cinco style. It's actually thinner in spots. And then you just have those flappy tail. And then I actually took the goat and I cut those down even more. So I want less resistance. And then you reel this, you know, kind of a rat, like you may reel and you may just stop it and then pick it right back up to your normal speed, or you may give it a quick little burst, or you can also pop the rod a little bit. But you just, when this thing, not only does it slow the speed or the skirt poof a little bit or back and forth, it jumps, hunts. It goes out, it'll make it go out side to side when it's slimmed down like that. Now you could run the regular, something even thinner, but I think those little flaps, and if you wanted to try to look like a fish, instead of a crawl, just turn it sideways, would look more like their fin. There it looks kind of like little craws. But I've always said, from the time I've just heard about chatterbaits, like, and tried one, I'm like, oh, it's a crawdad imitation. Like, I've always thought these are more to creep down slow and then, you know, pop them around and just look like something jumping around down there, but more crawdad imitator than the spinnerbait is more of a either some type of fish or a little small mini group of bait fish. And yeah, I know they can all cross, like we've got those black ones with just a single Colorado, and it may look, or they may think it's a craw if you're, you know, slow rolling. But I think if you're trying to look like a fish, you're more apt to try to use that, and if you want to do like a crawl bites going, you're better off with the chatterbait. So anyway, all these baits, the bite was it's kind of tough, especially on the last day. And Charles, if you're watching this, Charles could comment. I don't remember exactly what all he caught him with, but he was, I don't even know if he caught I think he maybe caught a chatterbait fish, but I don't think he got on the chatterbait bite with me. Now he did, I think I threw this briefly on Sunday, but I think Charles was going behind me hitting them on chatterbaits, and Charles was catching them with a very little chartreuse colored, and I want to say it's a 1.0, but the little bitty one from Academy, the H2O ones or whatever, a little bitty square bill. He was doing real good with that one also. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The new baits so far legit. Megabass baits, I know they're expensive, but they do work. The Jackall baits, they're kind of expensive too. And I bought that other one. I think I tried it briefly. So far, and not that they're letting me down, it's just that I tried them, and I tried a couple different ones of our 2.5 square bills. There was like not even a thought of getting hit on it, while this one was just going ding, 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 ding. Because I tried I think I did get one fish on the 2.5 Strike King in this color, oyster color. I think I finally caught a fish on Saturday on that bait, but this one was like nonstop. And it could have been just the size, the smaller size, and the 2.5 just isn't, it's not the ticket right now, because I didn't really feel any kind of luck. I've got the Strike King 2.5 square bills. I've got a couple of the Lucky Crafts, and I think, I got the Strike King in the white one that doesn't rattle, and then the KVD one that does rattle. But anyway, stay tuned to that. They're still in the testing, but if they keep going like they are, the big square bills are going to be right back out of my box again, and we'll just stick with our little 1.5s and smaller, maybe even 1.0s and smaller, right? But I think honestly, if this guy keeps going like he is, I've found a replacement for my Diggets that I've been looking for years, and I couldn't find it because they didn't make this one yet. This is new this year. So alright guys, stay tuned. I'll be coming back. That video, like I said, will be dropping probably tomorrow. And it's basically just 3 fish catches with these Megabass baits, and you'll hear me acting a little goofy. But then I got a new GoPro coming. My GoPro gave out yesterday. I threw a rod and reel in the water. I didn't throw it. It fell out of my hands. We kind of lost it. But then thanks to Charles got it back. So yeah, would have had about $350, $400 worth of rod and reel gone, but we got it back. And I don't even know if any of that made the clip. There's a lot of cussing going on, and it may have got deleted. But anyway, you guys want to see that kind of stuff. Who wants to see a grown man cry, right? Right. So, stay tuned. I'm going to also come back. I'm still in a dilemma with rod and reels. Which way do I want to go? Do I want to just say, I'm tired of testing different rod and reels, I'm going to go with what I think's going to go. Stick with one series of rods, one style of reels. Caught them on everything. Yeah, the red color bite may be going, because I think, did I catch any on I can't remember if I caught any on my red rattle traps or not. The rattle trap, Charles caught a couple on a rattle trap type baits. I didn't catch a fish, I don't think, on a rattle trap. Now the rattle trap bite will come back as soon as you get grass coming up on the outside grass lines. The grass it's kind of erratic now, and the fish are scattered. So like where they were in, and I'm not saying you couldn't, you could have probably went down there instead of the chatterbait, tried different color, whatever, found a rattle trap bite going. But once I threw, I started out with this guy just because I wanted to try him out, and it was like, this may have been one of them too. On the very first cast, it caught a fish, and I'm like, oh no, it's on. Chatterbait bite is working. So I ain't gonna lie, on Sunday I spent the majority of my day chatterbaiting, and it kind of paid off, because when I would stop and do other stuff, I think on Sunday I caught one fish on this exact bait right here, this Rerange, and I think every other fish I caught was either on this bait, and then the most of them on this bait. I don't think anything else I tried worked on Sunday. We're at the pit that was public pits. And so Charles was like, I don't think anybody throws chatterbaits down here. I'm like, maybe not. They've never seen this dude. And this dude was kind of tearing them up. And he's tore up too. This is an old one, in case those of you guys are wondering. This one, I don't know how long I've had it. Hook, oh, ow. Hook's still sharp. It could probably be sharpened. This is a softer metal than the actual jackhammers and any of the Z-Mans are probably made out of. But it's still sharp. We're still catching them. You'll see where I actually got antsy and missed a fish like twice, threw back there and finally got him. But I think that was just me and my hook sets. He was hitting us right by the boat. Clean him up a little bit there. I guess if you guys have any of these that have these, once they have a little, what I call a hair out of place, I like to peel that. I want all of these little strands to go down and not be poofing out. It's just a personal thing. But yeah. So, oh, well, no, that video was I even, dude, I don't even know if I was recording back in that day. I'm talking years back is when a bass ate my bass. I don't know, was I making, I can't remember. I don't think that's on video. But, and I've heard of it happen before. I've seen and heard of people talk, and you'll see sometimes, like, I mean, I've caught double fish on, and I don't think I was recording back in that day also. The Megabass Pop Max, caught two fish at once. Caught two at once on the, oh shoot, the Jabberjaw last year. But there's been several times, and I couldn't tell you if the fish was coming up to try to take the bait from the little ones or the big bass was trying to eat the little bass. But there's been several times I've had a big bass be right with another little bass at the boat, like trying to, either get him or the bait. So, I mean, it's definitely a deal there to where that, swim baits. The thing is, though, like if you just go out and you throw that bait all day long, you're definitely going to short yourself out on dinks. Like me, I try to get a feel for like, oh, this could be you just kind of get that sense of like, oh, let's try a big bass bait. And it's typically like as soon as any bite you get on slows down, like if you're out starting in the morning and a bite just kind of fades off a little bit, that's honestly probably the time to jump to bigger baits, not to slow. And that's what we do. And you can still catch some. But I think honestly, if you want a big bass, that's the time to switch from, don't go to the drop shots and the shaky heads and the, slow down, go finessey, go big or go home, because that, it could be 10 or 11 o'clock to like 2 or 3 o'clock or whatever. There's that window that's where most big bass typically are caught if it's like during the day type catches. Now, I still think that in the night or like when the sun's first coming up or sun's first going down, when that topwater bite gets to going crazy times, that's where like a lot of my big bass have come from. Now, my personal best came kind of almost in the midday, but I've caught 5 and 6 pounders, right when the sun's going down. And I honestly, going down is probably even better. If I had to pick one, I would say more action on a morning bite, but bigger fish on the afternoon bite. Like the big ones just decide if they didn't feed through that midday thing, as soon as it starts getting dark, they go get their feeding done, and you won't even, those ones that are doing that, I think you're more likely to catch them then than in the morning. I think their feeding's either right then in the middle of the night or of a morning. The big boys are already done, and then the average bass that's in the place, and then the small ones are, getting up and getting their last of their stuff. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Could be totally wrong on that. But I think part of what will slow down if you get out on a bite, and this may be total, this is me trying to use bro science. Hello, chicken fried steak. Bro science of it, in my mind, is there's probably a couple reasons why a bite slows down. There's always that midday slump, right? Kind of like in baseball, they have their little, whatever inning stretch and stuff. Because I know it'll, especially in summertime, it seems like anyway, the hotter it is. But honestly, the heat doesn't even seem to matter to me. I've noticed it when it's been 60 degrees, 65 degree, 80-degree water. There just always tends to be the law in the midday. And I think there's a couple reasons. The fish aren't maybe as comfortable being out in the sun, so they're you got to find them a little bit differently. But I think a lot of them shut down because they also know that the big boys are out going to feed, and so they just like, there's like a get back, let the other stuff take place or whatever. It's in my head that maybe that's what's going on. So what I'm going to try to do is with some of these bigger baits, and I told myself this for the last year or two. You probably ever heard me talk about it. That magic hour for big fish. Just on any given day, try to utilize, instead of going down to shaky heads and drop shots and TRDs and all that kind of stuff. Just if you're going to be, you're kind of waiting it out until that afternoon bite kicks back up, right? Because there's always like an afternoon bite. And typically the morning bite is better overall when it's, you know, in the hotter weather. It's the coolest it's going to be, and it's hot in the afternoon, you know, especially the hotter it is, that afternoon bite may not kick in until after dark kind of thing. And then the opposite, like colder water, I feel the afternoon bite is probably a little better than the morning bite. But I'm going to try to start going bigger baits, just doing different things, maybe looking to, you know, slow down, but with bigger baits to try to find, you know, hit spots that are typically known for bigger fish, instead of just worrying about trying to find fish to keep busy, you know, catching little dinks or whatever. If it slows up, try to, you know, nothing wrong with getting practice in, right, with trying bigger baits. No, the everything has went, it's all scattered, getting ready. They're starting to feed up. Like everywhere we were, if you guys remember in the other videos where we're talking about the rattle traps, like we were finding them out, basically, you know, big schools of them deep. So the last week we fished that, we actually found them. They were starting to scatter then, and the last 2 weeks been colder than heck here, so we didn't even fish. And then so we went this weekend, and they're still like, you won't see, you might see a big blob or two of, like, maybe it's one big fish. It could be a big stump, it could be a big grass carp, you know, or something. Nowhere on the depth finder did we ever see any big, what could have been schools of fish. You know, you'd find a few different things that looked like bait fish. So everything, I think, you know, we're in the Midwest here, the water temps in that high 40s, low 50s. Everything's getting ready to spawn. Now, what we didn't see, I saw no sign of a bed. I saw no sign of any cleared out area at any point anywhere that made me think that these fish are making beds yet. But maybe they were in certain spots. We didn't, I don't know. But we were in, you know, where I could see the water was shallower or real, I'm talking real flat water, like only a foot or so deep for, you know, several areas. Like I didn't see no sign of any kind of spawning beds. So I don't think they're actually spawning around here anyway. See you later, chicken fried steak. All right, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go eat dinner. Brew Tank, he picked up the X Pride B, and I shipped him out the Bantam today. Should be there by Thursday. And he's saying he likes that X Pride B. It likes the way it feels. Should be perfect, which we already knew that, right? Should be perfect for jerk baits, but then utilize it for other stuff. I'm still trying to figure out, do I want to go full X Prides? Do I want to go Adrena and X Pride? Or do I want to go one Megabass, one Adrena, maybe an X Pride, or just try the Adrena and a Megabass P5 and just see what I think? Where do I go from there? But that's a lot of money to spend if I'm not happy with one. So any of you guys, somebody on here will know, you'll have a P5. I always run braid to leader, and that's another thing. This dude right here, I'm probably going to sell it to Matt. This is the one that took the dive, by the way, Matt, and Matt never watches these. This reel on the contest rod that I use for the medium light, but I use it for jerkbait. This is the one that took a dive. It was gone. We lost it, and then we found it. But look at this reel. That's the second dunk it's taken. Been dunked in the water twice. These zillions are legit. But here's the thing. I may go ahead, because Matt bought one for me, and then Hannah took it over. This one's a prettier one, so I may sell it to Matt, and Hannah can take it over, and Matt can get his zillion back and be able to actually fish a zillion when Hannah's fishing with him. Because I may go all Steez reels. But I'm finding this reel is way better than HLC. Way better. A way better spool in this reel. I think it's actually a touch lighter than the Steez A's are, the zillions. So I'm just saying, like, if you guys want, I guess, in my opinion, still to this day, the best bang for the buck Daiwa going is this zillion. But I, unfortunately, have already handled and fished, and I have the Steez Limited. It blows all these other reels out of the way. Any Shimano I've ever had, any Abu Garcia, even this guy, Now it's crazy expensive. It's almost twice as much money as this guy. It actually is twice as much money. If you go to Digitaka, you can buy this one, and you can buy another one, and then you got about the same in a Steez Limited shallow spool because I run braid. But if any of you guys, and I'm gonna get away from this fluorocarbon, I do not like running. I remembered I don't like running. I wanted to try it, and I tried it, and I don't like it. I tried the, and it's good line. I can't knock this. I didn't test it yet. Jay had asked, wondering if I'd test the strength. I haven't. My battery's dead on my scale. We were relying on Charles's scale if we wanted to weigh a big one. We didn't catch big enough, really worth weighing. We knew they roughly what I think Charles caught 3.5 or 4 pounder. That was the only big bass we caught. I don't weigh Charles's fish. He's on his own. But if you own a P5, and they call it a P5, or I guess it's 5 different graphite sheets woven. It's like different ways as it goes up is what gives it its stuff, right? If you remember right, the Destroyer X7, I love that whole lineup. But they were more like what our contest rods are. These blue ones I got coming, the Wizards, and then like the X Prides and the Corrado. They got that, and the Zodius. They got that outer cross woven stuff that just they work. That makes them just a touch, in my opinion, stiffer. But anyway, I hear that all the P5s have micro guides. Now, if they're too micro, then my leader, braid to a leader, say 15-pound test, would struggle. So I was looking at the Super Destroyer or the Blade to try to be kind of like what I have on my 6'9" medium heavy Carbon Light 2.0, but something more sensitive. So I can also throw like smaller jigs, swim jigs, bigger, half-ounce jigs, or even smaller finesse jigs on a rod, and chatterbaits and everything. And I'll still have my 6'9" for just pretty much more moving baits, and I could slow down and use the Blade one or the Super Destroyer after I decide which one I want, because they're both kind of like a medium heavy, and one's kind of like a medium heavy plus kind of thing. It's the way I've heard it talked about. But so I basically could be using it to handle all this kind of stuff, chatterbaits, bigger end stuff, probably even this dude, because they claim that it kind of gives it a more thing, almost like what these carbon lights are. They've got a little more flex, but the carbon lights are not, they're sensitive with braid, but they're not the most sensitive. Once you put some on the bottom and you're moving it slow, if you guys know how braid, it still gives a response, but the tighter a less sensitive rod is, and the braid, as long as braid's pretty tight, you get a good feedback. The minute you go softer on a rod and like braid, now braid can have a loop. Me and Charles were talking about that yesterday. You can have a wind kind of little loop thing going with braid, and it'll still relay. You can tell it's still sensitive, but it's not as much as if you're a little more taut. But like when you get on bottom a lot of times and you're working something real slow, it's not. I don't know, that you lose a touch with braid. I feel that if you're bouncing something real slow off the bottom, that's actually where fluorocarbon is probably as sensitive. But I ain't running fluorocarbon. That stuff sucks to cast, for me anyway, compared to braid. I just think it's like this reel cast, in my opinion, way better. I can have it set at 3 or 4 with braid. When I put that fluorocarbon on, I had to set it to like 6 or 7, and it casts fine, but I lost a touch of distance. When I loosen it to I want to say right on 6, it just gets fluffy. Like right in the middle of the cast, it'll fluff up and then it goes down. Now, it never backlashes, unless you throw it directly in the wind real hard and the bait does a turn, just like anything else with backlash. But like on a normal cast, and you feel it's getting pretty good distance, about like it would with braid, it just always has a fluffy point in it. It's hard to explain. Didn't do that with the braids like set on 4. So 7, cast fine, no issues, but it still has that, it's not getting the distance I was with braid. So I'm going to stick with braid to leader. I love my, the limited, holds just enough 20 pound. I can cast a 3/4 ounce, a Booyah hard knocker as hard as I can, and it goes as far as it's going to go, and then it stops right as it runs out of, that's as much line as it'll hold, and that's all it needs to hold, because you were to throw any further than that, you're usually just going to take yourself out of the chance of getting, if a fish were to hit it right then and there, it still may be difficult to set the hook, even with 20-pound braid when you're that far out. So that's all the further I need to cast, and it's just the right amount. Awesome. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. If you got any questions, drop them down below. What's up, Jay? Yeah, and it's been so long since I fished other fluorocarbon. I don't know. I can tell you now, it's a little like I would probably rather feel it. Definitely, it stretches. It doesn't stretch as much as the P-line or original copolymer, but the P-line is even just a little easier, more manageable, I guess. But it still isn't as manageable as braid. I like braid, but I was having it wasn't, no problems considering it's 20 pound. I would have probably been better off. I should have bought 16, honestly. Still would have had the same casting issue because no matter how much, if it's 10 pound, 12 pound, 16, 20 pound, when you fill it almost all the way up in that first cast, the way it goes, that first so many feet, it's going to have the same thing. It just, fluorocarbon's heavier, it makes for a heavier spool, so it's just, the baits that are half ounce and lighter, it's just gonna have not as good a casting feel for me anyway as what you do with braid. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna be putting together a video. You're basically gonna go with me. I'm gonna put you guys on aimed at the computer, and we're gonna go through the rod and reel combos I recommend, don't recommend. Because I also had a buddy of mine I ran Race Star Sea Cards with, Joe, messaged me today asking about what rod and reel combos or what I recommend. I'm like, dude, obviously you need to be watching Bass Bonsai. But I kind of pointed him in the direction of the carbon lights. I was like, I don't know how much money you want to spend. Like, going right now, in all honesty, if he's just wanting like one rod and reel combo, so he's probably better off to look at Bass Pro, see if their Carbon Light 2.0s, when they are on sale for like 179 bucks. I told him just look at the 7-foot medium moderate or the 6'9" medium heavy. If you want a longer rod, go with like a 7-foot or 7.3 medium heavy with the combo. And because that reel, I had horrible luck with mine, but Matt he's still fishing 3 or 4 of those, and so that reel should be okay. But that's still putting you up like around 200 bucks. The cheapest way to put a combo together is like a reel from AliExpress, and then probably like the Berkeley Lightning Rod. That is still a rod that is not a horrible rod for like 40 bucks. You can go out and grab you some Abu Garcia, well, the Black Max or that Max X or whatever they call it now. You grab 1 or 2 of those reels, 1 or 2 Berkeley Lightning rods. The 6'6" medium is actually pretty soft, and then like a 7-foot medium heavy or whatever. Trust me, you can go out and almost cover everything and not have a ton of money in a couple, one combo for if you want to go heavier baits, whatever. So anyway. Oh, so Jay says he realized that the OG Tatula rods that I like better than anything else have the dual X construction of the Wizard rod. Yeah, and that's another thing. I noticed now my Wizards just now shipped, like today. It shows they were actually shipped. When the deadline was about ready to go, I don't know. Like I'm having so much issues with whether it be eBay, AliExpress, because my first rod got canceled. The one that wasn't the Wizard, the other one that's like a medium light that I tried to buy was only like $52 or whatever. It was insanely cheap, and it was looked like it was going to be a good rod. They canceled that one like 2 days after I bought it. Then they just now show that they were picked up for shipment on my 2 Wizard rods, but those were like 97 a piece. And right, if they're anything like these contest rods, I'm gonna like them, and they'll be well worth the money. But it is starting to get frustrating dealing with all these different places, right? Get them all for the channel. Now, here's the thing. I'm about done getting everything for the channel. You guys are going to watch me get what I want to get, and we'll see what we can replace what. Because here's how I want to do it. I've already got way too much baits now, so I want to find, and I may try some of the cheaper ones, but I'm looking to not just try everything. I want to look for where am I lacking and what baits and what, which, you know, we don't have to really mess with chatterbaits anymore. Although they do have a very good looking, the Thunder Cricket Gold Blade series has a very good color. It's like an off whitish bone colored chatterbait with the blue eyes and then gold blade. And of course, you know, if it's kind of like the oyster and it's gold bladed, I probably should buy one of those. But the, you know, there's just certain like areas I feel I need to find, and like that's what's going to go down this year. I'm going to be out there fishing, and I'm going to try to narrow it down to where I can get back to, you know, one tackle, well, my two tackle boxes, but basically what I consider one, like one huge tackle box worth of stuff and not need all this other stuff and take it, you know, but I'm trying it. Like, so I'm getting stuff, and then because I believe for sure with jerk baits, they're kind of in their own little thing. I think you kind of need some different varieties of jerk baits if you want to stay on a jerk bait bite longer. If you want to wait around till the re-range bite gets on, you're good to go. If you want to wait around till just the Vision 110s get on, or the Vision 110 knockoffs, which are the RC sticks, Rogers even has their house brand. But they also make like 80 series. They make 130s. They make a lot of different jerk baits that I think if a guy really gets in there and goes down that little rabbit hole, you can stay on jerkbait bites longer, right? Like the plus one. Now, I'll be honest, I tried the Stacy 90. So far I kind of reminds me of when I bought the last Stacy 90. I don't know if I'm not using that bait. It's got a crazier, deeper dive than the others I'm used to. And I may be working it just a little too hard, I guess, because that big, you know, once you get down, that big thing may just need little subtle jerks to move that bait a lot. I don't know. But I'm not super impressed with that bait yet. But the Vision 110 plus one, I think they were on a little shallower, up in shallower water, so that's why this bait was one of the main ones I was really trying. And so, yeah. Rods, baits, all that stuff. Jay said his wizard is supposedly at his local post office. Yeah, mine is far from that. Mine just got shipped. Now, they were supposed to be expedited because it took so long or something. The guy meant, I don't know. I was reading what they were saying, but anyway. It originally showed my delivery date by March 31st, so I messaged him on the 31st, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? It shows I hadn't even shipped yet. You know, he's like, rest assured, my friend, this and that. I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to give it 2 more days, and then I'm going to put in for a refund. Well, then today it shows that it's been something else, like it went down, like it'd been picked up for delivery or something. So I'm going to give it a few more, but I think I spent close to $400 that day. I bought the rod. I bought another rod. That way I could get the 90, like you, up around 90 some dollars was the max on the $15 off. So then I bought that, and then I went back and I bought another one. And then I went back and I bought that other 50 some dollar rod with another however much in bait. And then I went back again, spent like another almost 100 just on bait. And there's a ton of it coming. It's supposed to be here this week. And then a couple weeks before that, I bought was it the week before? Anyway, the Zillion 10 was bought before all this other stuff, and it hasn't made it yet. It shows it should be here any day. Like 6 days ago, it showed it was at the local lean hall, whatever office, but it hasn't showed anything since then. And that's one thing that sucks about AliExpress. I wouldn't even mind waiting if you're just showing me where it's at any given time. And what happens with a lot of this stuff, and I guess they're still blaming that they don't have enough help. A lot of stuff will come into customs where it needs to get checked through, and it just will set because there's like a backup and all that stuff. So it's just a matter if you just hit that right time when it makes it through. But I know back when I was ordering rods and they sucked horribly, the Kind Conqueror rods, those came quick. They were within, I want to say it wasn't even 2 weeks. But yeah, my plan is as I'm getting what I want, we're going to, you know, I'll narrow stuff down, and I'm going to just get to a point where baits I can recommend. And if something really new and revolutionary looking may pop up, I may buy it. But I've kind of went back and retracked and redone stuff that I've already done years ago before I even had a channel, and know that either I don't like it or it just didn't work for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Almost any bait made, you can figure out a way to catch them. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. the I think it's Matt Steffen now says there's a new. I didn't even watch the whole video, but it's basically he had a pink worm like tied in a knot, so the pretzel rig or something. So yeah, you just tie a worm in a knot, rig it up, throw it out, and that's supposed to be a new thing. But I think a lot of these new ways they try to rig a worm, you can still, they got the free rig, which is just somebody just decided to take a drop shot weight instead of putting an egg sinker on. They put that on, and oh, it's like a revolutionary new way to, the free rig, to this, to that. I think just when you try something and it makes you kind of just work it differently, but I think you could do the same thing with the Texas rig. Like if you set out to try something, because a lot of guys like me, I don't even know the last time I actually rigged up a Texas rig. I either use a shaky head or a wobble head thing and throw soft plastics, or I'm just on a jig. And it's been a long time since I've just rigged up a Texas rig to get through the gunk, because I feel I can get through it with the shaky head and a 16th ounce and the zinkers on it and that kind of stuff. So anyway, be looking for my video, rod and reel, what I recommend. What I will get, I have no idea yet. Pressures on damn rods. Like I said, first of all, if money was no issue and I knew that the micro guides would be okay, I would buy 6 rods in the Megabass P5 lineup. The ones that are in between 6 foot, they're bigger, longer than 6'6", but they're shorter than 7 foot. They make like 6. Some of them are BFSE, and then up to the 6'9" Super Destroyer. Then there's like 6'7" Blade, 6'7" Tachyon shaft. Then there's the 6'11" Jerkbait Special, the 6'11" Kersami or one of them, and then there's a 6'10" Bait Finesse, I think. So those, like you would have it all covered. 6 rods, you're gonna do everything regular. Now you're not gonna go ultralight BFS fishing, but you got it all covered in shorter rods. Now you can go longer rods, but I've always, especially coming in out of like whether it be even Charles's boat, 14-footer, longer rods, just get in the way, transporting rods, unless you've got a big long rod locker of a bass boat. Anything longer than, and I could go to 7 foot, because 7 foot rods kind of work. They're, in my opinion, they're just a little too long. And I know what you're saying. 6'10", 7 foot's not any different, or even 6'11". Trust me, an inch or two makes a world of difference. I know, that's what she said. But anyway, the other rods that I think about is just like what, same kind of concept. But they don't go as, I don't think they go as heavy. The X-Pride Bs, you have 3 different 6'10s. You've got the 6'10 glass, 6'10 medium, 6'10 medium heavy. Then you could go down. Now they don't stay above 6'6", but you can get BFS. They've got an ultralight and a light in the X-Prides, so you could actually cover a lot of fishing right there if you wanted to go with that lineup. But then the I just can't make myself. I don't know why. I used to love the Dobbins rods, like the reel seats and the handles and stuff, but they feel almost a little slippery. I don't know how to explain it, but like when I'm handling them up at Rogers, first of all, they don't really feel like they're worth $189, $200. They just don't have that feel, in my opinion. But that Sierra lineup, they've got the ultralight Sierras, and then they've got a lot of rods. I think there's like 6 or 7 that are in between that also. Those rods would be a good option. But I'll tell you what, if I was a Shimano guy, I would be all about the Corrado lineup, because the Corrados have about everything that an X-Pride B has, but they're, I want to see where they're $100 cheaper per rod, and then the Corrado reels match up to them. The downside to the Corrados, first of all, you gotta like the green color, which I'm up in the air about the green. They don't have the soft touch reel seat. Same reel seat as the X-Prides, as the Adrenas. Also, very close to, I noticed the NRX Plus rods have a very, they may not be identical to all the other Shimano's, but they are like right there. Soft touch, which I think they may have the overall, I think they're on the top side, they get a little wider, like right between the, handle, cork handle, and then where the real foot it goes, like right there, maybe a little wider than on the other Shimano, but like it's very close. I was looking up at Rogers going, oh, they put the same, and they put the Spiral X on the NRX Plus. That's really all I think they changed. I don't think they changed the blank material itself from the NRX Plus, other than they added the spiral thing. They didn't like, but those rods also, I'll be honest, those rods do feel very good. They look a little fancier than the older NRX rods, but they're very close, and the reel seat definitely does feel even better than the old one. And there was nothing really wrong with the way the old one felt, but they're still, in my opinion, they're not $600 rods. Like, I would rather just buy all of the X Pride over those. They're going to be a touch heavier. Someone's going to say, oh, they're way different in sensitivity, but trust me, like me being a braid guy, I'm not going to lose any bites over the, because I've already kind of tested that. That Tatula with the solid tip was as sensitive as any of those NRX rods I had. That solid tip Tatula rod was on it, and I traded off to Bonsai Guy. He's got it and the Corrado BFS. Because you can't get it anymore. I wish they still made, and still nobody's showed me where you can buy, like, I don't even know who, I think Megabass has what they call carbon heads, which I think maybe they're just solid tipped or whatever on the destroyer rods, but I still have not really found a place where I could go and buy a rod or two of a certain ones with the, heavier, not, you can find them on AliExpress, but they're a lot whippier, more ultralights type stuff, like the tip on the CU double and that kind of stuff, but I haven't seen it translated into a medium heavy action on the bass, fishing rods, one-piece ones, like what that Tatula was. Yeah, the old school cork look, because like you guys have seen, I've cut these down. So basically, if I went all X Prides, I could, and I've got these others. I only bought a few sets. So I could do a little more cutting, maybe order a few more sets. I could go all cork knobs and, the handle on the X Pride. Any reel pretty much would match right up to those X Prides. They're really like a neutral. Any reel's going to look good on X Pride, I think. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I got to eat dinner. Stay tuned for the rod and reel, never-ending rotating door. Will I find... I should just keep this. I may message Matt and be like, too bad. I'll sell you this as long as you buy the HLC, so I can get all Steve's SVTWs, whether they be the limited or the regular one. I have seen one. I've been spotting it. I spotted it and I've been watching it. I sent him an offer as a best offer. I want to say it's $266. It's a 7-to-1 SVTW, but it does have some scratch. Not horrible. I mean, I could fish it no problem. It wouldn't bug me to death or anything, but it does have scratches, and so I don't know if it's worth their asking price, but I offered them, you know how you got to do it. You got wheel and deal. So I'm going to see what they say. I may just go ahead and buy that one, but I may also buy, there's one with definitely a couple different scratches, a limited, but it's the slower gear ratio, and it's got a deeper spool on eBay also. I may buy that one. I haven't decided yet. Part of me wants to get the Metanium, but part of me doesn't either, because that shallow spool Metanium is going to have that funky line worm gear, and it's going to have a touch of resistance. I just know it, because they don't have one up to handle at Rogers to see how they are. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Get out, go bass bonsai, whatever you do, make sure you have fun doing it, and all these baits, they're legit. If you're looking at it right here, it's a legit bait. They do catch fish.